So as you can see, the wireless signal in the garage is just completely terrible. So this is a wall plate AP. This is pretty cool. So on the back of it here, it has an Ethernet jack that you can power this AP up via PoE. And so I have a couple of wall plates that are around the house on the second floor as well. So I'm actually gonna just mount this right to an existing wall plate and plug it up via Ethernet. So the cool thing about the AeroHive access points and an Extreme Network switch is that they're all cloud managed capable. And they actually have a free tier called Connect. So let's get started. First, we need to install all of our cables into our Power over Ethernet switch. This will power up all of our access points. And before we take the wall plate off, we use a knife just to cut around the plate. That way we don't peel the paint. The wall-mounted AP comes with this plate and a couple of extra screws to screw right into the existing 2-gang electric box. Then we have a little jumper cable that we use to plug in the Ethernet cable to the access point, and then it just slides right in. There's a top mount screw that just further secures the access point onto the wall plate. The next AP gets mounted into the garage. We plug it in. We don't have any drywall, so we're just going to leave it right in this spot. So now we're in Extreme Cloud IQ. I have my AP150W, AP121, and my 440G2 all connected into the cloud, and status looks great. So we're going to go over to network policies. I've already created this policy called home, and we'll go into our wireless settings. And as you can see, I've already created an SSID here just called CP. I'm using WPA2 pre-shared key, so I have a password enabled, and I'm just using the default VLAN. So I'm not doing anything too special here. I am going to broadcast the wireless SSID on both radios here. So you can also look at your device templates. So on the AP150W, you can create additional settings if you wanted to modify the default settings, so you can go in and change things on the radio profile type. You can also configure the Ethernet ports that are available at the bottom of that wall plate AP. You can also go and configure some of the options for the 440G2 switch, which is pretty cool. All of my ports are just on an access port, default VLAN ID of 1, but I do want to go ahead and set some of these ports up on a different VLAN ID for some of my home lab networking gear to segment it from the rest of my network. And then once we go into deploy, we don't have devices that we can push to yet because we haven't assigned those devices to the policy. So if we go back over to devices, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to select all my devices here. I'm going to say action, and let's go ahead and assign the network policy of home that we just created. Go ahead and assign that. And so now, once the devices are all assigned, you will now see that there's configuration audit, or the policy with the settings defined has things to push down to the switch. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and say, now that we reviewed the Delta configuration, we're gonna go ahead and say update device. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply all those settings to the 2 access points as well as the 440G2 switch. So I'm gonna go ahead and look for my iPad in the garage. So I go over to clients and I can see my iPad connected here, and I can actually hover over to see its average RSSI at -38, which is pretty good. And then I can also click on the device that it's connected to here, and I can see that I authenticated okay, and then I also picked up an IP address via DHCP with no problem. And I can also start to see the usage statistics coming in for the device, and I'm sure that the Wi-Fi upstairs will be working pretty well too now that I have that additional wall plate installed upstairs.